Hey everybody, what's good? This video is called 15 Lessons Rich Parents Teach Their Kids. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the first lesson is you can't be rich if you give it all away. So we're going to check out these 15 lessons, and while we do that, I'm going to keep working on this kids book. Before we get into it, remember to go to coconutjustice.com and get you some clothes that I think would look good on you. Let's go. 15 Lessons Rich Parents Teach Their Kids. I might not be talking much over this one. I'm here to learn. 21 minutes and 21 seconds of absolute magic, rich people magic. Let's go.
The right piece of advice at the right time can make great differences in the long run. The kids of the rich have a massive head start, not because of the resources they already
Preach.
have, but because of the mindset their parents instill within them. They start off with decades of wisdom from people who achieved massive success. These are 15 lessons rich people teach their kids that the poor don't. Welcome to ALUX, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired.
Okay,
Number
I'm
one,
ready.
understanding how money works.
I'm ready to be a billionaire. I'm ready for all the goodness. Understanding how money works. Okay,
Now,
let's
this
go.
might sound basic to some of you, but there aren't that many people who ask themselves, how do people make money? Why am I being paid this much money by my employer? What factors determine my salary or revenue? How do taxes work? Can that be optimized? What needs to happen to improve my finances? Now, rich parents usually make it a priority to discuss the value and importance of money in their household as soon as possible. And this familiarizes kids from a young age with the concept of value. In exchange for services provided, they're introduced to the household expenses and put in real-life situations where they can figure out pretty quickly that money is a lot harder to earn than it seems.
Not always. There's some parents that don't do that for their kids, and their kids, even though they're rich, they're misinformed with what money is supposed to do and how you can leverage it and all that good stuff. So this one, I mean, they might, like proper parents who take their time to take the time to do this. Yeah, but I've seen where other parents don't.
On the other end of the spectrum, the poor never talk about money at home. It's usually a secret how much money the parents earn or how much money is spent. The only time the kids hear about
It's
money
not a secret.
is when
They just don't
parents
have
are
it.
arguing about not having enough, thus associating the entire concept with negative feelings. Number two, the
Negative feelings, not just that. Like if you're coming from a a poor household, there's just not any money to talk about. But also rich people who act like douchebags also make this or trigger these emotions. I don't know if I want to hang out with rich people if rich people are all jerks. Just that simple. So I don't know if rich people being jerks distract people or detract people from wanting to be rich. But I know for a fact, like if I am rich and I am forced to hang out with people that are just jerks, like I'm good. I'd rather be rich and alone.
Number two, the difference between an asset and a liability. The poor never know what's a good purchase and what's a bad purchase. After poor people earn money, they go ahead and spend it. That's how they stay poor. Let us explain in as simple terms as possible. An asset makes you money, while a liability costs you money. The problem here is that poor people never realize what counts as a liability.
That's why whenever people ask me, should I buy this computer? Should I buy this iPad? Should I buy this whatever? I would rather buy an iPad before I buy a car, because I know for a fact that in my career path, an iPad can make me money, whereas a car is just going to get me to meetings. And I can get to meetings however I need. There's public transportation, there's walking, there's, whatever it takes to get there. But that laptop, that computer, that software, that iPad, all that stuff gives you the ability to make money.
For example, both the car you drive to the grocery store and the house you live in are liabilities, okay? They don't generate any revenue for you.
Right.
They demand money to keep on running. Same goes with your new iPhone, fancy clothes, your smart TV, and everything else you purchased without thinking. While the rich focus all of their time and money on acquiring more assets,
Yeah.
buying an apartment that generates rent, writing a book that generates revenue, purchasing parts of a business that's doing okay, and more. And while most rich people have fancy cars and fancy houses, the assets they have pay for those kinds of luxuries.
Right.
Rich people never buy luxuries from their own earnings. They want a fancy new car? Well, they figure out how to buy 2 apartments and then use the rent from those apartments to pay for the lease of the car. That way,
these
when
are
you get rid
facts.
of that car, you still have money coming in from the apartment rental.
Now, granted, if you have a rental place, it's a completely different set of annoyances and of responsibilities. So you have to be ready to fix things at a moment's notice. You have to replace refrigerators and holes in the walls and all kinds of stuff. So you have to be prepared, or you have to go into this situation with your eyes wide open. You know, buying an apartment building might be cool because it looks like income, but you have to be ready for everything else that comes with owning an apartment building.
Is a crucial difference in behavior. When money starts coming in, focus on buying assets instead of spending it.
Yeah,
Number 3.
that part I agree.
They are not entitled to anything. The rich know the world can take everything away if they're not performing, while the
drop
poor
of a
tend to
hat.
look for someone else to take care of them. Being born into a wealthy family definitely has its advantages. No lies there. You've got access to better tools and better resources. You don't have to worry about basic needs. But you also open yourself up to new threats that poor people don't have to worry about. There's a lot more for you to lose if you're not careful, so the pressure is always on. It's really important for the wealthy to teach their children that despite them getting a head start in life, the journey ahead is just as long and they need to remain focused on growth. Not just maintaining the pace, growth. Whether or not they'll be successful in life depends on their own actions, and daddy's money can only take them so far. The fortune of a family where children feel entitled, well,
But
it
it
usually
is
crumbles
far.
in the 3rd generation. First, there's someone who's really hungry and works incredibly hard to build wealth. Second, their children grow up with a sense that all they need to do is maintain that wealth. And lastly, the 3rd generation has lost
Pisses it
its
all
hunger,
away.
feels entitled to success without work or sacrifice, and usually spends it all pretty stupidly.
Yeah.
Teaching your kids the lessons from this video will help you to avoid this type of downfall. Number 4, how to be sociable and connect with other people. You would think that more people would realize how important it is to be able to have a pleasant conversation with others. Successful people socialize their kids before the age of 4. Not even kidding, okay? Here's why. If your child gets socialized that early, other kids will want to play with them. If they behave well with other kids, well, other parents will want to take care of them too while they play with their own children. And this has a massive snowball effect throughout life. If people like you and like being around you, well, this builds up and doors start to open for you that otherwise would stay shut. Teachers will treat you better. You'll get access to better job opportunities. You'll make better friends. There's an entire tree of benefits that grows from early socialization. Number 5, increasing income instead of lowering expenses. One of the most valuable lessons a parent can teach their child is how to generate more money. It takes the same amount of effort or work to barely survive or to make a fortune. This might sound peculiar to some of you, but it is the truth, okay? The difference is the approach and the knowledge you use to back up that effort. The smarter you are from a financial perspective, the least amount of effort you have to deploy into the real world. That's why Wall Street brokers earn so much more than miners. Who between these two do you think deploys the most effort? Poor people are always focused on lowering expenses as much as possible to the point that life is almost not worth living anymore. Do you think the rich care about buying a $5 coffee from Starbucks or not, or spending
not.
$30 on a movie instead? The wealthy put all of their attention into increasing the amount of money flowing in. If you radically increase your income, there's always going to be a large amount of cash left over at the end of every month. Poor people teach their kids to lower expenses, while rich people focus on increasing their income. There's a major difference here. You combine that with lesson number 2 on this list, and you are well on your way. Number 6. How to create daily habits that give them incredible advantages. Now, one of the most valuable skills you could teach your child is how to create a habit for themselves. Habits are amazing, and once you realize how valuable they can be, your life changes. It normally takes around 21 days to create a new habit, and once you push through that 21-day limit, you're off to the races, okay? That habit becomes a part of you. If you don't read enough, transform reading into a habit.
That's why when people start to get into fitness and they want to exercise more regularly, I always say, give it 2 to 3 weeks, because after about 3 weeks, your body is accustomed to it and your body's going to start to ask for exercise, and your body will motivate you to go and do these things. When you are getting into eating better, fitness, and all that stuff, focus more on changing your habits or developing the habits more than the activity itself. It's a guarantee. If you are going to work on your fitness, all you have to do is go to the gym. I've been in situations where I didn't want to work out, but I just said, screw it. I'll go to the gym and work out just a little bit. And then 3 hours later, and then 3 hours later, I'm just now starting to get ready to go home. So whenever you're going to change your life in that way, remember, just focus on changing your habits, and everything else will just fall into place and become easier.
If you want to get fit, but never have the motivation to go to the gym, make a habit out of it. Same goes for work. If you make it a habit to organize and optimize your workflow, large portions of your day open up for other things. The rich use the power of habit to get ahead in life, while the poor nurture toxic habits which lead their lives into ruin. The power of habit is a tool. It magnifies what you feed it. The rich simply choose wealth creation actions as their daily habits, while poor people pick negative routines. So be careful of what type of habit you instill in your child.
Don't sit on the couch.
Because children learn from watching you do what you do, not from what you teach them to do. Number 7, money is a tool and it's a good thing. How many times have you heard people say that money is the root of all evil? Think back to the person you heard saying that. How successful were they? How happy were they in their lives?
How
Poor
Christian
people
were they?
blame their misfortunes on the lack of money in their lives and attribute an element.
How Christian were they? And then look at the big old churches that they go to. Like, what's the old boy, Olstein? If money was the root of all evil, then why is this guy holding church in a stadium?
Negativity to the concept of money as a whole. And this is because even when they get money, it leads to more and more problems which they don't know how to tackle. The rich do the exact opposite, okay? They understand that money is merely a tool which you use to navigate your life. It's just pieces of paper and plastic with drawings on them, okay, that we exchange for material value. Nothing more, nothing less.
Money, yeah, but it's bigger than that, because you could also have, stocks, and you can also have property, and you can also have collectibles, gold, all that stuff. All of that stuff counts as money too. It's not just a piece of paper. It's the power that comes with the idea of how much money you have.
Making money so personal and use it for what it was created for. Exchange it to make your life better. It's very similar to just, thinking about a pair of scissors or something. You could cut hair with scissors, or you could stab yourself in the eye. Once you start thinking of money as a tool, the game suddenly changes, and you'll stop harming yourself with it in the end.
Don't stab yourself with money. I agree.
And avoid magical thinking. We're all caught up in this instant environment. Do you want to watch a movie? Stream it. Do you want to eat? Order in. Do you want instant relationships? Swipe left.
Ugh.
Swipe right.
Ugh.
But most people don't realize that wealth and happiness don't fall into this instant category. Poor people expect to get rich quickly, to win a large sum of money or inherit property. They have this weird expectation that their lives will
I don't know what the percentage is, but it is a large percentage of people who win the lottery that lose it all again. It's because they don't have the basic understanding of the money that they just got or how to use it. And then they go out and they tell everyone, hey, I won all this money. And everyone comes over because they want a party. And that's it. It's not good. If take the time to build a proper foundation and keep building on your foundation, because then at the end of the day, if you build your own thing and it's not a lottery or a get rich quick scheme or whatever, if it's your idea and your company that you are building and you're taking time to build it properly, it's hard for people to take that away from you. It really is. Whereas if you win the lottery or anything like that, like getting rich quick without the proper foundation or understanding what you just did will your habits will get you in trouble, and it's just going to disappear as fast as you made it.
magically become better. But the irony is, even if they somehow got their hands on a lot of money, they're not educated enough to know what to do with it, and eventually
Yeah, there you
they'll
go.
blow through all of it.
Yeah.
Rich parents make it a priority to teach their kids.
So let's take a second here to if you were to build the foundation and take a look at some of the first lessons that she shared with us. If you do those things and then you hit the lottery, chances are you will be better prepared for whatever tomorrow brings, instead of just, you know, living happy go lucky and then all of a sudden you win the lottery and then you're going to happy go lucky yourself back into poverty, you know?
Play the long game.
Invest
Long-term
in
thinking
knowledge.
is one of the differentiators.
Invest in knowledge and get yourself a tax professional and have conversations with that tax professional. If you won a lot of money, or if you, I don't know, if you got YouTube famous, go and get someone who is good at money and making money and that understands investments and all that stuff, and sit and talk with those people. Get yourself a solid understanding of all of the possibilities that are available to you after you win the lottery, or even if your parents are rich, you know, like that transfer of wealth. There's a lot of transfer of wealth happening right now as we speak, because the older generation is starting to pass on, and they're passing on this money to a younger generation, but this younger generation may not be ready because of what she was talking about, how if you don't have a solid understanding of money and how to make money and how to change your focus on, instead of this money, how can I use this money to grow more money? If you don't have that understanding, life is going to be tough.
Characteristics of the rich. Something really interesting we discovered is how much progress you can make if you think about life in large batches of time, say 5, 10, 20 years. There's a really great quote from an interview Bill Gates did where he said, "Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. The New Year, New Me campaign starts every January, right? But instead of planning for the next year, why don't you start planning for the next decade? And maybe this time, you'll do something about it." Number 9, knowledge is more valuable than money in the long run. There's another quote that we kept hearing a lot when we were getting started, and it
People
took a
will
while
try
to fully
to take your
comprehend
money,
the true implications
whether
it had,
it's the
but it goes like
government,
this.
whether it's whoever
Invest
it
in
is, they
yourself.
will try
It
to
pays
take your
the-
money. They will try to take your money, but they cannot take your knowledge. And if you invest in your own knowledge chances are, if you have a bunch of money, you came into a bunch of money and you invest in your knowledge, chances are you're going to be focused on, how do I grow this? How do I invest in companies? How do I build a company? How do I make more money? You have to invest in your knowledge, because that's something that can't be taken away unless you get older and your brain starts to fail. But that by that time, it's already too late. You already lived your life.
Dividends. Sounds easy, right? You've heard us say it before, but it has very little to do with going to school or reading books. It has a lot more to do with increasing how valuable you are to the world. The world rewards people who are valuable because valuable people can create value for others, and in exchange for that value, they can get whatever they want. But the concept of becoming a valuable person is not taught to their children by the poor. Even just a few of the wealthy bring it up when their child is growing. But those who do see a higher probability of both success and happiness. There are many ways to become valuable, from filling a position in the company to creating a product or service that people use, to showcasing your talent to the entire world. The more
Making a
valuable
movie
you
that
are,
people want to
the richer you'll
watch,
become.
making YouTube
The
videos
only
that
way
people
to
can
become more
connect with.
valuable is through the increase of knowledge, skill level, and time. Learn how to be better, and then practice being better at it for long enough that you start to see noticeable differences. It takes 10,000 hours to master anything. That's why the rich have their children try a bunch of activities to get a head start on that number of hours. Someone who has knowledge will always be able to generate money because they're valuable to the marketplace. But the opposite is not always true. Sometimes knowledge can be too expensive to buy. Number 10, don't work for money. Have money work for you. This is the centerpiece of getting rich, right? You can read as many books as you would like, go to seminars, classes, get an MBA, whatever you want. It's all based on this. Poor people exchange their time for money and then they spend it. The rich use the money and they get to create more money. There are big differences in the approach to finance these two classes of people employ. Most people stay poor because they believe you need large amounts of money to invest. Otherwise, there's no point. While the rich are always looking for ways to add the smallest drop in the bucket of positive income they can find. Because it's not about the amount as much as it is about getting used to the idea of growing something yourself. You can start a business these days with less than $100 if you know what you're doing, or even for free as long as you're willing to put in the time. As soon as you generate enough revenue, use that money to pay for someone else to do the things that you used to do to keep that business running.
That's
as
huge.
You focus on growing and other more important things.
Yeah.
Number 11.
You got things
Solving
to get to.
problems is the quickest way to get rich. Something the rich are quick to teach their children is the fundamental difference between getting paid and getting rich. Let us explain. So poor people get paid to take care of something someone else needs done. For example, deliver the newspaper, wash the car, answer the phone, that kind of thing. Single activity jobs where you basically do the same thing over and over and over again. The rich never do repetitive work because it's easily outsourced. Instead, they focus on the bigger problem. The bigger the problem you fix, the richer you become. That's how delivering the newspaper became content. Think websites. Same results, a lot less hustle. People will pay money for you to solve their problems. Teach your children that, and they're off to the races. Number 12. Not to waste time on things that do not correlate to the real world. Sorry to break it to you, but nobody really cares about your degree. To be honest,
They don't.
we feel like the entire educational system right now.
No one has ever, no one has ever given a care about my degree. I remember talking to one of my bosses once. The very first sentence in my resume, it said U.S. Army veteran, and then I got hired, and a year or two later, I was telling stories about being in the military, and he said, "Wait, what? You were in the Army?" It doesn't matter.
Pretty messed up. They're just repeating to you the same things that used to make sense a while back with a blatant disregard for the future. You're basically getting into massive debt over skills that don't have a direct correlation to the marketplace. And if you're really passionate about anything and put in the time to master it, you've got a better shot at making it on your own anyway. Don't get degrees you'll never be able to pay for jobs that no longer exist. That's crazy, right?
Especially creative industry. I know people who, instead of going to school, they bought themselves a really nice, or they built themselves a really nice computer, and they bought the software package that they wanted to be good at and a book. And they focused on that, and they got really good at that. And they are killing it in the creative industry, in the gaming industry, in the movie industry, just because they put their money in the right spot. Don't go to school if school is not your thing. There's a way around it. There's a thing called YouTube University, and that's basically the slang for learn a bunch of stuff on YouTube.
What we've been doing for the past 40 years. Number 13, how to use good debt instead of bad debt. Bad debt makes you poor, while good debt makes you rich. Did your parents ever mention this to you when you were growing up?
Nope.
Probably not, right? It's one of those lessons that the rich have figured out a long time ago. Other people and institutions will actually help you get rich quicker if you know the difference between these two, because it's all about the purpose of debt. Poor people take out loans with the purpose of spending that money on liabilities. They borrow money to get a new car, to get a new phone, to cover the necessities.
A new
The
house.
rich only borrow money with the purpose of generating more money. Banks
Right.
and investors love to lend money to this kind of project, as long as you can clearly explain to them how your money will be safe and how you'll be able to pay it back. Because that's how people build skyscrapers, okay? They don't pay out of their own pocket for the building, no, not even for the land. It is all on borrowed money. The
Yep.
bank is certain that you'll be able to sell it or rent out the building, and that's why it's willing to take on that risk with you. You'll just have to prove that, first of all, you know what you're doing, and that you've done this successfully in the past. Number 14, 80% of the results come from 20% of the effort. Rich parents don't actually want their kids to be top of the class. Shocker, right? But it has to do with the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle or the Pareto distribution, which states that 80% of the outcome is the result of just 20% of the action. In business, 80% of the revenue comes from only 20% of the customers. 20% of your employees basically do 80% of the work, and so on. This is a mathematical ratio that's been proven to be quite accurate in almost all enterprises, and kind of life in general. But back to why rich parents don't want their kids to be the first in class who take up too much time and effort to improve with the smallest deviation. You would need to dramatically increase the time you put in, which doesn't leave enough time for your real-life education. There's more value to take out of experimenting in the real world than being inside studying all night to just get 5 or 10% more on your exam.
Check out a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and be careful, because if you read that book, you're going to wake up on Monday morning ready to quit your job.
That kind of trade-off just isn't worth it. And number 15, having money doesn't make you a better person. It just solves some of your problems.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. When you're thinking of rich kids, you probably picture snotty, arrogant pricks who believe that just because they have money, they're better than everyone else. But look, okay, that's not usually the case unless you
Bumped into them.
inherit your money. You probably worked your butt off to get to where you are in life. On the road to riches, you have to understand how valuable humility can be. And most rich people are very humble individuals because they never forget where they came from. Those values don't get lost.
Depends on who you talk to.
Humility and respect for others are some of the first lessons that rich parents teach their children. Because, well, they know what it feels like to be sitting on the other side. You should never be ashamed of having money or being successful. It's actually something you should celebrate. A lesson most people figure out too late in life is that you can't buy a clear conscience, no matter how much money you throw at it. Money pays for comforts of the body, but not comforts of the mind or soul. Now, we did a couple of videos a while back where we went pretty deep into what money can and can't buy. But the question we want to leave you with today is, what lesson did your parents teach you that has served you well in life? And if you're so kind, please leave that in the comments for other people to benefit from it as well. And since you stuck with us until the very end, here's your bonus fact. Number 16. Rich people teach their kids to raise their expectations. You want your kid to live a better life than you have? Teach them how to not put up with bullshit and raise their expectations. Some people say the secret to happiness is lowering your expectations in order to achieve them. Well, the secret to financial success is to raise them and then hit them. The majority of people settle for mediocrity, never taking big risks for big wins. The competition might be fierce at the top, but there are definitely fewer players involved. So think of it like this. Would you rather have low expectations and meet them, or would you rather fall short of the highest expectations possible? If you compare both results, you're definitely better off with the latter.
That was 15 lessons rich people teach their kids. Yeah. She was dropping knowledge bombs. Very, very, very informative video that we just got done watching. I hope you liked it. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with each and every one of your friends. And if you want to come hang out with me and watch videos while I work on creative projects, hit that subscribe button and click on the little bell button right next to the subscribe button so every time I come out with something new, you'll be alerted. Don't forget to go to coconutjustice.com and get some dope gear. And with that, I'm out.
Coconut Justice.